All right, good evening, everyone. We thank you for joining us for tonight's webinar entitled Vote by Mail, What You Need to Know. My name is Deacon James E. Dow Jr., and I'm chairman of the Deacon Board here at Mount Olive Baptist Church. This webinar is being sponsored by the Men's Ministry of Mount Olive, and the chairman of the Men's Ministry is Deacon Rufus Burns, who you'll hear from in a moment. Your presence here tonight signals and speaks volumes about your commitment to vote on November 3rd, your desire to educate yourselves about how to stay safe when you exercise your right to vote, and amid all the confusion coming out of the White House, what you need to do to make sure your vote is counted on November 3rd, 2020. Before we go any further, we will now have our opening prayer from Pastor Emeritus Gregory J. Jackson. Reverend Jackson?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. Let us pray. Gracious God, we thank you for a new day. We ask your blessings upon our efforts to make us aware about voting by mail, and we pray that we will take seriously our opportunity to vote for the persons that we think best represents our own values. In the wonderful name of Jesus Christ, we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Jackson. We will now have a welcome to our Zoom audience from Deacon Rufus Burns, chairman of the Men's Ministry here at Mount Olive. Deacon Burns?
Yes, hello. As I say, my name is Deacon Rufus Burns, a chairperson of the Men's Ministry of Mount Olive Baptist Church. We welcome you, the Deacon Board welcome you to this webinar. We have a speaker here tonight to give you information you should know about mailing in ballot or dropping it off. The Men's Ministry, thank you for listening. God bless you. Amen.
Okay, thank you, Deacon Burns. I am sure that many of you will have questions about your November 3rd vote during and after our guest speaker has finished his presentation. Due to our Zoom format, you will not be able to ask your questions in real time. However, your questions are important to all of us, and we will now hear from Ms. Jerry Craig, Chief of Operations at Mount Olive Baptist Church, who will explain how you can ask a question of our speaker tonight. Ms. Craig?
Good evening, everyone. So there is a question and answer box on your device. So we ask that you would submit any questions that you would like to ask in that manner. We will be monitoring that question and answer, and we will present your questions to Mr. Hogan throughout the webinar.
Thanks, Jerry. We are privileged tonight to have a speaker who knows how to vote by mail and what you need to know to make sure your vote is counted on November 3rd. John Hogan has been Bergen County Clerk for the past 9 years, having first been elected in 1979. He's a resident of the borough of Northville, New Jersey. He's a 1979 cum laude graduate of St. Thomas Aquinas College, where he received a Bachelor of Science degree in social science. He is married to his wife, Ida, and they are the parents of 3 children. I present to you Bergen County Clerk John Hogan. Mr. Hogan, please take it away.
Thank you. Appreciate it. A lot of time went into planning this, and we're going to do a good job tonight. Just for clarity, I was first elected clerk in 2011, so I don't want you to think that I'm older than I am.
Oh, sorry.
It's a 5-year term, and the year that I ran, there's a reason for me saying this. I wasn't supposed to win, and I won by 1.2% of the vote. Keep in mind, there's about 600,000 registered voters in Bergen County. I won by 2,082 votes that year. So I know how every vote matters. If every vote hadn't been counted that year, if some had been shelved or rejected or whatever, I would not have won. The good news is that in 2016, the good folks of Bergen County reelected me by 70,000 votes. I'm 1/3 of the officials that come together to deliver an election in Bergen County. It's not all done through the county clerk's office. There's a superintendent of elections, Patty DiCostanzo, who has a deputy. One's Democrat, one's Republican. They're responsible for the voting machines, voter registration, and investigating voter fraud. There's the Board of Elections that now has 6 members that are appointed by the governor, 3 Democrats, 3 Republicans. They're responsible for counting all paper ballots and for setting up the polls and training the board workers and certifying the final results of the election along with me. So there's a lot of checks and balances going on. The power is not in the hand of any one agency. And then we answer, of course, to the state. So what do I do then? If everybody else is doing that, what's he doing, right? I'm the guy who has to put the ballot together. I have to design it. I have to produce it. I have certain requirements that are determined by state law. I have size limitations based on the machine and based on the machine that counts the vote by mail ballots. So we do our best to lay out the ballot. But if you're going to throw the tomatoes, I'm the guy that delivers the ballot, that puts the ballot together, that designs it. As I said, I certify the election with the Board of Elections. We all sign off on it and send it to the state. I also produce all election materials. Just so everyone knows, we have a big supply of these in our office. They're printed in-house. We developed this about 5 years ago. It's election and voting. There should be no fear in elections. There's no mystery. The elections are very, very simple. I do a lot of weddings, civil weddings. Every bride and groom, and then the parents get involved. They want a copy of it too. It has a voter registration form inside, and it has a vote by mail application also inside. What else do we do? I conduct the drawings for ballot positions. Why do Democrats and Republicans get the first and second column? That's the law. I have to draw between Democrats and Republicans first, and then independent candidates follow. So that's why the Democrats and Republicans always get the first and second column. Just so you know, this year is a little different because this is a vote by mail election. Governor Murphy's given us until November 20th to certify the election. That means the results are not for real until November 20th. And then we have until the 23rd to get those results to the state. So we're not going to have results election night. Don't want to set that expectation. And this is all set out by Governor Murphy's order. Before we get into Governor Murphy's order, I sent this out. Hopefully everyone's gotten it by now. My son just got it today. I got mine last week. And what it is, it's to tell folks if they want to participate in this election, they got to be registered to vote. If you voted in the past 2 presidential elections, you're considered an active voter. There's no need to register to vote. Once you register, as long as you vote on a somewhat frequent basis, you're in the book, you're on the rolls, right? It's for those folks that may have moved into our county or may have moved into our state or who are 18 years old. 17-year-olds can get registered to vote these days. So if you want to appear like you're really on top of things like I do, I try to get a little fact here. 17 years old can get registered to vote. They just can't vote until they're 18. So they can fill out the form. Superintendent of Elections holds on to until they're 18. That's the voter registration form. We have, those of you who saw it, we have a quote from Abraham Lincoln and also from John Lewis about the importance of registering to vote. So Governor Murphy's order is number 177. It made November 3rd a vote by mail election. That's what he wants. He wants the intention is for this election to be carried out by mail. That's the order. It's available. Anyone can read it. I'm going to just try to summarize some stuff. There's going to be at least 1 polling location open in every municipality, at least 1. And you say polling location. When I heard that, I said, oh, good, people can go vote in the machines. No, only people who are disabled have the opportunity to vote in a machine. There'll be a machine available but only people with disabilities can vote in the machine. Every active voter, they don't have to do anything to get a ballot. As long as you're a registered active voter, you're going to get a vote by mail packet, which looks like this in the mail, that contains a ballot. It contains an inner envelope that the completed ballot goes in, and it contains a return envelope. Governor Murphy ordered that these envelopes coming back to the Board of Elections have postage paid on them. So folks don't have to worry about going to the post office, making sure there's enough of postage on it. Also, on the inner envelope, on the outer envelope, let me show you the difference. It's self-adhesive on the outer envelope and on the inner envelope. So that kind of like protects us from COVID and everything else. When are the ballots going to go out? That's like a frequent question. Governor Murphy has given us until October, what's the date, Steve? October 5th? October 5th for the ballots to go out. We're planning, because of working with our printer and getting the stuff to them and pressing the town clerks to sign off on it, we're planning the third week in September. The post office has made a commitment to us and to the Murphy administration that from the minute this goes out in the mail, you should get it within 7 days. So if you're not getting it within 7 days, you should contact our office. At that point, we can issue another one. And the question is like, how are we sure that these ballots are secure? That's in a lot of people's minds too. There's a label that generates, and it goes here, from the voting system, from the voter registration system in the state. That label gets affixed by our staff, and then the ballot goes in, the whole packet goes together. There's one ballot per person based on the label it's generated. No one can hack this. It's hack proof. No one can manipulate the ballots in any way. I told a story last night that Fox News, a real friendly group, they wanted to come into my office the second year I was clerk, because they said that there's a lot of crazy stuff that goes on with vote by mail ballots. The conspiracy theories you're still hearing today, right? They came in with a story in mind to write. When they saw what we do, the story changed. It was Fox National News too. And the story was, well, in the clerk's office in Bergen County, they seem to have everything, under full control. What else? How else can you vote? At each voting area, we said there's going to be 50% open, at least one in every municipality, right? You're going to be able to drop off your vote by mail ballot. You're going to be able to place it in a secure box that they're going to have in each voting area. So I can't tell you the voting areas yet because the Board of Elections hasn't firmed up on that. In addition, there's going to be another 18 ballot drop boxes throughout the county. I've made an appeal, and this is the Board of Elections that handles this. I've made an appeal that there should be one in every community. They come back at me saying, well, there is, because you have those secure boxes that are in each polling place. So that's the way you can vote. Some people, and I hear there may be protests, not from us, but from other people who have certain interests, and they may boycott this election as far as voting by mail, may show up at the polls. The only way they're going to vote in the polls is if they're disabled or if they fill out a provisional ballot and vote on a provisional ballot. So that's important. If anyone has not gotten a vote by mail ballot and they suddenly realize it on election day, they should go to the polls and vote provisional. No one should be denied the right to vote. We had a primary election. This was the test run, you might say, for the whole thing. It was our dress rehearsal. No allegations of fraud. Don't believe what you're hearing every night on television from the crazies. There was no allegations of fraud. The superintendent election in prior elections did have some allegations of fraud. She investigated. I think there's only 2 within the past 5 years, and action was taken. So if someone wants to risk their future, their career, a severe fine, being barred from holding office, because it's usually done by elected officials who monkey around with the vote by mail ballots. I told you how to vote, and let's see. Also, ballots are going to, if they're postmarked by the end of, by election day, if they're postmarked November 3rd, right? They have until November 10th to receive the Board of Elections, to get into the Board of Elections by 8:00 p.m. So if we're not trusting the post office, there's an additional 7 days if you have it postmarked on election day. If there's no postmark on it at all, the governor has also said they have 48 hours for it still to be received in the polls. So there's a lot of things in here that weren't in here for the primary election. That was my dog, excuse me. And I guess at this point, we'll open it up to questions. The deadline to register to vote, I don't know if I said that, is October 13th. That's important. If you're not registered to vote, want to participate, October 13th. You can contact our office. You can go into any city hall. We have the forms in there. This came in the mail. And if anyone has any questions, I'm available.
Hogan, there's a couple of questions out here.
Sure.
Oh, one is from Judy.
Okay.
How do you notify the Board of Elections if someone, i.e. a voter, has died, or is it already known?
A lot of times it's known through different ways, because if there's going to be no sample ballot for this election, but in prior elections, when the sample ballot goes out from my office and it's then returned, if it's undeliverable, if no one accepts it, if the post office says there's no forwarding address, it goes to the superintendent of elections. She's responsible for the voting rolls, and then she checks to see what's going on. She has access to state computers and everything else to see if someone's deceased. But a good rule is if someone's deceased in your family, you should notify the superintendent of elections.
Okay. Another question is, what does voting provisionally mean? Can you explain that a little bit more?
The original intent, I think it happened when Corzine was governor, if I remember right. You remember, Reverend Jackson? I think it was when Corzine was governor. Provisional?
I'm not sure.
Yeah. So the intent was that people were moving within a county and they weren't changing their address, or they were even moving within a municipality and not changing their address. And those somewhat hardcore board workers would say, no, 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 this is the address I have for you. And they deny them the right to vote. So I believe it was Governor Corzine had it approved that if you move within the county and you haven't changed your address, you're still a registered voter in that county and you should still be given the right to vote. The only way you can vote, though, is by paper provisional ballot. But this governor, Murphy, has extended it to people who don't want to vote by mail can cast a provisional ballot. I usually tell people, if there's any doubt, if anybody's giving them a hard time at the polling place, tell them you're entitled to a provisional ballot. And I think I put it on here too when I did the mail-in. Yeah.
Next question is, what is the protocol for following up to make sure that your ballot was received? And is there a number or some other way of contacting somebody to confirm that?
Okay, first of all, you got to allow up to 7 days when you mail it back to us to make sure, to the Board of Elections, to make sure it's received. You can call our office, and that number is like on everything we send out. Our elections division is 201-336-7020, 201-336-7020. The Secretary of State has told us on the state website there's going to be an ability that you're going to have the ability to track your ballot also, but that's not set up yet, so I can't tell you. I can tell you as we get closer to the election and the ballots go out, we'll publicize what that is on the state website.
Okay. So another question.
Yes.
The complete count will not be known on November 3rd. How does this affect the presidential winner?
If you're looking for the official results, you're not going to get them by the morning of November 4th. The official results, what was the date I said before? Was
November 23rd.
you know, this thing's so new. There's so many dates and deadlines that I can't keep this in my head. November 23rd is when the state has the official, but we'll certify, we'll know to be able to tell anyone on November 20th. And, you know, the press will get it from us like on November 20th. But that's the final, because when those provisional ballots come in, they go through a whole screening thing to make sure that that the person who cast the ballot did not vote also by mail. And then they also check to make sure the person's a registered voter within Bergen County. So that takes probably 4 or 5 days for that to occur alone. And that's done by the superintendent of elections. Yeah, I can tell you this, once the ballots go out and we get to election day, my job is done. Then it's on to the superintendent of elections, it's on to the board of election, and that's when they start going crazy.
So how soon can mail-in ballots be mailed?
Well, it's supposed to be, what was the date I said, Steve? October 5th, the governor said in his order. They have to be out by October 5th. My printer, knowing we were having this today, he said probably by the 3rd week in September or slightly earlier, we'll have them out. We're putting pressure on the municipal clerks that when we send the ballot to them before it goes to printing, they have to sign off on it, that they have to return it within a day. We're not letting it sit around for 3, 4, 5 days. So that's how we're able to get it out the 3rd week in September.
So,
oh, and excuse me, one other thing I should tell you. We had a clerks meeting, all the clerks in the state, and some clerks in, smaller counties, okay, they're posting on their website and letting the municipalities know so that each clerk posts when the ballots are mailed out for that community. So if Hackensack and let's say Bogota and another neighbor community all go out in the mail at the same time, we'll post that on our website. We'll let the town clerk know. So that's going to be another heads up that watch the mail, your ballot's coming within 7 days.
so is it to say that once the ballot is received in the mail, that you can mail it in right away?
The advice that I was going to give in my closing tonight is once you get the ballot, don't stick it with the bills like I do and keep postponing paying them, right? Open it up, make an informed decision, mark off who you're going to vote for, sign the, this is a certificate of mail-in voter. You have to make sure you fill this out and sign it. The ballot goes in here, and then that goes into the outer envelope and gets mailed to us. So send it in right away. Don't let it sit around. This is the presidential election. This is a senator election, and this is Congress election, besides freeholders and everyone else. This is probably the most important election in a while for us,
So will there be a Dropbox location?
There's a Dropbox right in front of the one Bergen County Plaza. There's one right in front. During the primary, I stood out there because I'm not a candidate and I'm an election official. So as folks were coming, I was keeping the little flap open so that they can get them in so they didn't have to wait on time. So people were jumping out of the car, throwing them in. Some folks were coming and voting on the sample ballot, which I corrected them. I said, no, the other thing, they would have lost their right to vote. This time there's no sample ballot, thank God.
How safe are those drop boxes?
Very safe, because I told you there's 6 members of the Board of Elections, 6 commissioners of the Board of Elections, and they have a staff. But when those are open, it's 1 Democratic commissioner and 1 Republican can only open them.
Do you have cameras around those drop boxes?
When the state said to locate the drop boxes, they want them located in areas that contain cameras. But we don't want them located at police stations.
Right.
The other day at our meeting, they were talking about municipal centers and stuff, but that's fine. We don't want them a police state. We don't want them near police stations.
Okay, well, I just wanted to add for all those that are attending that this conversation, this webinar will be available for replay. So I know there's a lot of information going out and you may not catch everything the first time. So you can go to www.mountolivebaptist.org, or you can go directly to the church's YouTube page, which is also Mount Olive Baptist Church on YouTube. And probably by this time tomorrow, you will be able to see the replay of this conversation, so that, and you can encourage other people to, tune in, because it's important information. Mr. Hogan, I just had one question that's not really printed. A lot of the information that you're saying is coming from you by way of your county job. but would it be safe to say that much of this information would be consistent throughout the state, regardless of
Yes.
where people may live?
Yes. Yes, we have to all follow the same guidelines, yes.
Okay. Because we may have persons that are.
I have a question, Mr. Hogan.
Yes.
What precautions will be taken for disabled voters that are going to go to the polls to vote in person? Any special precautions you're taking?
I'm so glad you asked that question because it's in the governor's order. And I'll read because I paraphrased it. 6 foot separation has to be maintained, social distance, infection control processes, frequent sanitation of high touch areas, frequent hand washing for board workers. He's giving the board workers a lot of breaks to go and wash their hands as folks come in. Hand sanitizers provided, face covering, and gloves for board workers, among the many things that he actually states in the order. So there's a lot of stuff that's gone into that. Now, some folks are saying, you know, in my town, I hear it when I go to the deli. Well, if you can go to the supermarket, why can't you open up all the polling places and vote on the machines, right? And there's a certain political group that had wanted to see that too. I think probably the safest answer is the governor has few options, and you have to staff all those polling places. You'd have to staff them. A lot of the folks that work at the polling places are up in age, the most prone to catching the virus. And, you know, there's still a lot unknown about this virus. So I don't think the governor had many alternatives. And if you look at the overall picture, voting by mail is simple. You're doing it from your house, you throw it in the secure box, or you're throwing it in the mail. So.
And
I have one. Okay, go ahead, Pastor.
I was just going to ask,
Go ahead.
can we, for some of our senior citizens, they get it in the mail, tell us what's allowed about us helping people, you know, to fill out the ballot for a senior citizen, and can we take it and drop it in the box for them?
Okay, so first of all, as far as assisting them, according to the letter of the law on the envelope that the ballot goes in, that the voter has to sign, this is the certificate of mail-in voter. They have to sign it, fill out, print their name, address, and sign it. This is kind of legal. You know, this is really important. On the bottom, if you can see, we have it highlighted. On the bottom, there's an area for the assister also to fill out. So they would sign the name of the person providing the assistance, print the name, and also their address. That's the way you can assist someone according to the letter of the law, right? Also, if you're a messenger, if the person then gives it to you as a messenger, if you're transporting the ballot, you have to fill out the messenger section, which is on, this goes into here with the ballot in it, and that gets mailed back. That's how the ballot comes back, right? There was something else I wanted to show you. We send this out. Lauren, who many of you knew, who was my deputy, Lauren put this together last time I was up for re-election. That was 4 years ago. And this is a step-by-step, if you can see, how to complete a vote by mail ballot. This goes out with every ballot packet that we sent out. So, you know, all you have to do is sit here and look at it. We have a video on our website. People learn in different ways. So some people can read it. Some would like to see someone doing it. And we have that on our website too. We have a number of other things we're putting together. I got a call from Senator Weinberg the other day, and she says to me, all right, you're reaching out to everyone. How do we reach the seniors? They don't do social media for the most part, is what she said. So the only thing I can think of is doing another mailer. And everything I'm telling you tonight, plus more, try to summarize that all in a mailer. The other election agencies agree with me. We're probably going to get that out within the next 10 days. It's being put together now.
Will the polling places in the municipalities be printed in a paper? How will people know where the polling place is?
We're hoping that by the time, you see, they're waiting for the towns to get back to them to tell them what places are available. I know in my town that it's already done, but the polling places will be on our website, right? We're hoping that the polling places will be done in time for our mailer also. And you're going to get, instead of doing a sample ballot which shows the polling place, there's a postcard. Now, he says postcard, Governor Murphy, so I might be able to blow that postcard up and put a lot more information on it. That's going to go out before the ballots are returned to let people know where the polling place is and where the drop boxes are also.
I think somebody asked that.
There's a question, Mr. Hogan is asking, what are the qualifications or considerations to consider someone disabled to use the polling place? What would you?
I don't think he actually defined it. I don't see where there was a clear definition in the order that I read. I read it a couple of times. So I don't think he defined it. You know, Governor Murphy's real careful about not denying anyone the right to vote. I'm sure they have to fill out a certificate saying that it's a Board of Elections, so it's separate from me. But I don't think anyone's going to be denied the right to vote. I know no one's going to be denied the right to vote.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to reiterate. One person says that they were on a website called votesaveamerica.com, and it's indicating that you need to complete an application to request a vote by mail. The person is asking, is this required to receive a ballot in the mail for New Jersey residents?
No. If you're an active voter, you know, you voted in the last 2 presidential elections, that means you're still on the rolls. If you're an active voter, you're going to get an automatic vote by mail in the mail. Be careful of some of those websites, you know, whoever had asked that, because there's a lot of craziness going on. You know, there's a lot of conspiracy theories. There's a lot of misinformation. You know, I think the Chinese are in there, the Russians are in there, and everybody else. So.
Let's see.
There's also a question, will the envelope we place in a Dropbox have a date on it?
No. Who asked that question? Okay. No. It goes in the Dropbox. The Board of Elections takes it in and brings it to their office and secures it in their office. And again, there's one Democratic commissioner, one Republican commissioner. I can tell you these folks are tried and true. You know, you even try to have a political conversation with them and it doesn't happen, you know.
Another question. Someone asked the question, it has been said that during the primary election, some mail-in ballots were discarded in several municipalities. What would be the reason to discard a ballot that is sent in by mail?
Okay, so that was probably aimed at the Board of Elections. And I don't know what occurred with that because they're the ones that count the ballots. But during that time, all I can tell you is what I read in the paper. There was a decision that was made by a judge that the ballots could be cured if the signature didn't match or if there was no signature there at all. That's in Governor Murphy's order. He says the Secretary of State will put up the guidelines, which I haven't gotten yet, to cure a ballot, but it has to be sent out to the voter that your ballot's not going to be counted because your signature doesn't match. Do you need to update your signature? This is what you need to do. Or you haven't signed your ballot. Please sign this and return it to us and acknowledge them. So there's going to be the ability to fix it so that the ballots are all counted. And that's in Governor Murphy's order.
Okay. There was a couple other questions. I'm just going to find one more.
So can you please, excuse me, repeat your response to the question? Is there a phone number or email address to check on whether your ballot was received?
Okay, so give it 7 days first, right? Once you mailed out your ballot, give it 7 days. And then on our website and on the state website, there's going to be the ability to check it. As of earlier today, it wasn't set up on the state website yet, but I imagine I could go in tomorrow and it could be set up. We're going to publicize that where you can track your ballot. You know, it's been received by the Board of Elections or, you know, it's in progress or whatever.
Okay.
And you could also call if you feel that you need to find out if your ballot came in and you don't want to go on the website, you can call our office. That's the 201-336-7020.
So is there a particular way that the ballot should be filled in? Is it a full bubble? Check the bubble, make an X?
You should fill out the bubble. I don't have a ballot with me because that's not too cool. But You should fill out the entire, I think she has it on here. You should fill out the entire bubble.
Mr. Hogan, do you have your PowerPoint presentation tonight or no?
No, we sent
okay.
it to you, didn't we?
Yeah, I think you
You know,
sent
all the
it to
stuff that
me. I
was in
was
the
hoping you
PowerPoint, I've been
use-
holding up. I think the other thing folks should know is that there's 3 public questions on the ballot. And in some municipalities, there's more than 3 questions. There's municipality questions that just pertain to municipality. Question number, when I was running for re-election, I can tell you a quick story. When I was running for re-election, someone asked my opponent what the 3 ballot questions were, and it was deer in the headlights. He had no idea what they were. So, of course, I was the clerk, and I had them in front of me, and I read them off. I think I gained a lot of votes that night. Just a side note. So the first one is constitutional amendment to approve amending the Constitution to legalize a controlled form of marijuana called cannabis. That's the first question. The second one is property tax deduction and exemption for peacetime veterans, a $250 property tax deduction, and they can also get 100% property tax exemption if they were totally disabled, and their spouses, the surviving spouses, would be entitled to that also. And question number 3 is to change the legislative redistricting schedule if the census data is delayed. So those are the 3 questions from the state that are going to be on the ballot. So it's going to be a full ballot.
Okay. One question, sir. As the ballots are being received through the mail, are they scanned immediately or are they being held until a particular date or time?
There's a lot of stuff that's going on in the state right now, which the board was not able to start calculating the ballots until the close of the election, but ballots can still be received up to 7 days later. So there's some legislation, some talk about allowing the board on election day to start tabulating the ballots. Right now they can open them, right? Yeah, you can start counting at noon, right? So, you know, there's a lot of moving parts as we get closer to the election, but it would really help the process if the board was able to start, you know, right on election morning, start calculating the ballots. It's all paper, you know, this is tough work. There's ballot boards of temporary workers, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans that come in that day.
Okay.
Reverend Jackson, can I tell you one thing?
Sure.
Before I forget, I need to hire 2 more temporary workers for about 2 months for elections. So if you have anyone, and
I
know
got
this
you.
is going to be broadcast, so contact Reverend Jackson if you'd like to work for us.
I got you.
Okay.
No problem.
Okay. Someone says that the question about messengers, they didn't feel you gave a full answer. They said you started to mention something about how to fill out as a messenger or.
Okay, so we said about the assister, and then if you're the messenger also, there's a section on the outside of the return envelope, the outer envelope, that needs to be filled out. Can you see it? I'm trying to bring it as close as possible. That has to be filled out by the person carrying or returning the ballot. The letter of the law says that that you can be a messenger for 3 ballots tops. You can't, there were the good old days when people used to walk with 100 ballots for people, and you know what went on there. But when Christie was governor, he passed it, you can only carry 3 ballots at a time for the whole election season. Is that better?
That's good.
Okay.
Will there be more than one location other than one Bergen for drop-off?
Yeah, there'll be 17 other locations for drop-off, and then each polling place is going to have its own box also for drop-off ballots. So you're going to have the 50% of the polling places that are open. There's going to be 1 in each municipality, minimum of 1. And then besides that, there's going to be 18 boxes throughout the county. 1 Bergen seems to be the most popular.
So, Mr. Hogan, if I understand what you just said, if you are a regular voter and you fill out the vote by mail ballot, you technically can bring that ballot to a polling place on election day and have it received as a regular vote or ballot for that election. Is that right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. And it would not be considered a provisional ballot.
It would be considered a vote by mail ballot. You know, here's the difference between provisional and vote by mail ballots. The vote by mail ballots get counted first. The provisionals get counted last. All right, because there's so much verification that the superintendent of election has to do to make sure those are legitimate voters. But the vote by mail ballots, we know they're legitimate voters because we're sending the ballots out to them. You know, that's the way they got the ballots. So.
Okay. Any other questions pending?
Just trying to double check to make sure we haven't overlooked anything.
Okay.
The current status of the U.S. Postal Service, do you anticipate that these matters are going to have any impact?
I gotta watch how I answer this. You know, there's attempts to undermine the election by certain people in high office. I don't think that person is going to be successful. We have and I think they were caught in the process of doing it. They were caught, and our ballots are going to be returned first-class mail. We demanded with the post office, us and Governor Murphy, the clerks and Governor Murphy, that these be handled as first-class mail, and they guaranteed us that they will be in within 7 days of being thrown in the mailbox. But if you don't feel secure with the post office, take it to the voting precinct or drop it off in one of the 18 drop boxes.
Okay, someone is asking this question. One friend who has 10 friends, can that one friend make 3 trips to the drop ballots? I guess, I'm not sure. I guess
No.
just how many ballots can one person bring in at
Three for this general election season.
Okay, so can that same person come back again with another set of 3?
No. And I'm telling you the letter of the law, all right?
Mhm.
So.
Can you repeat that?
So if you're transporting ballots for someone, first of all, candidates, that should be known. Candidates cannot have anything to do with vote by mail ballots other than their own. They can't get involved in it. That's like a big no-no, and people have gotten in trouble for that, right? So if you're transporting a ballot for anyone, of course, you're going to fill that out, and the most that you can transport for this general election are 3 ballots, and that's the law.
Okay.
I assume you have to be a registered voter in order to be a messenger. Is that right?
I don't know I don't think that's true.
Okay.
Yeah. I think we went through this when Lauren was there. It wasn't true. No. Anyone can transport a ballot except for a candidate.
So how do you keep track of it? And if a person has transported more than 3, then what happens?
It's very difficult in this type of an election where there's drop boxes, where there's different places to drop off the ballots. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, the last 2 questions are asking basically the same thing. How are you tracking that, especially if they're just dropping them off at a drop box?
It's the Board of Elections. You know, if there's going to be cameras at probably all the locations of the drop boxes, so that could be a way to track it. But, you know, we're not trying to deny anyone their right to vote, you know? So this election is very difficult to do.
Okay, I don't see any other questions right now. Those are the last 2.
Can I just add one thing too? There's a lot of noise going on out there. A lot of noise, the conspiracy theories, a lot of things to try to make you want to stay home, to say your vote's not going to be counted, that you can't trust the post office, you can't trust the Board of Elections in counting your ballots. What I tell people is to tune out all the noise. As I said before, get your ballot, open it up right away, make an informed decision. You have a lot of information now. We can make an informed decision. We know who the candidates are. We know what their records are. Make an informed decision, cast your ballot, and either drop it in the mail or drop it in the Dropbox and get your ballot in. Don't get sidetracked with all the noise and all the nonsense.
Okay. Mr. Hogan, we want to thank
There's,
you for taking,
Deacon,
I'm sorry?
there's another question.
There's another question? Go ahead.
Yes. Since messengers or anyone transporting ballots, they have to sign that they transported.
That's if they're bringing them to the Board of Elections.
So if they do more than 3, their name will show.
Yeah, but that's if they were dropping them off at the Board of Elections, but the Board of Elections is closed. Our building's closed. Actually, the Board of Elections is going to be working out at Bergen Community College because this is such a vast operation. If it was a regular election and somebody was transporting ballots, yes, they'd have to go upstairs to the Board of Elections, sign how many ballots they brought, and that's how people get themselves messed up. It's a little different in this election. You can drop ballots off at different locations.
Okay. To that point, the question is asked, how late can you drop off ballots before Election Day? So for the drop boxes, is there a specific window of time that you have to put them in, or is it available anytime?
By 8 p.m. on November 3rd, the drop boxes are there all the time. They're not moved at night or anything. The only way to remove the ballots is they got 2 keys, and there's just like a mailbox. The bottom comes out, and then they dump it in another secure, what is it, like a square box. It's metal, and that's how they transport it. We kept an eye on it because we didn't want anything going on.
So far, I think.
Any further questions? Mm-hmm. I'm sorry? I'm sorry, Elder. What did you say?
I think all questions have been covered that I see. One person, Judy, just wanted to express, thank you so much, Mr. Hogan. She says, this is wonderful. And she says, please take it on the road.
Yeah, we intend to film something like this and get it out. You know, if you could do a public service PSA, it's probably going to be $20,000. And I'm not going to spend taxpayers' money on putting a commercial with my beautiful face on. I'm trying to project like Reverend Jackson. You know how he gets people inspired and stuff? But I'm not doing as well as you for some reason.
Right now, you're doing pretty good. You do better if you hire 4 people instead of 2, but I'll settle for you.
All right, let's do 5. All right?
Okay.
Call me tomorrow.
So there's a question or a statement. There have been checks stolen from mailboxes in large numbers. Can this happen with ballots?
You know, I don't know if that's happened in Bergen County. You know, we saw what happened in Passaic County, right? Passaic County. And you know, some of that had to do with the candidates and stuff too. And some of it had to do with like maybe an individual mailman or a couple of mail people. But I don't know if that's happened in Bergen County.
All right.
Are there processes
let me
in
say-
place to mitigate something like that from happening?
First of all, I guess they'd have to, the individual would realize their ballot wasn't received if they're tracking their ballot, and then they'd be issued another ballot. You know, we have no problem at all if someone's ripped up their ballot with the homework by mistake or their kids' papers and thrown it out. We issue another one. On the back end, they check to see that one ballot for one person.
Okay, let me just say again, Mr. Hogan, how much we appreciate your volunteering your time to come and talk to us. We know you work for the government and you get paid anyway, but it's important for people to know what to do. There's a lot of anxiety right now, a lot of concern people have that somehow their votes won't be counted. So it's really important for you to have come tonight and to explain to people what they need to do to make sure their votes are counted. So on behalf of Mount Olive Baptist Church and all the other people that are watching tonight, I want to just say thank you for taking the time to answer our questions. Thank you.
And thank you for taking the time to put this together too. We appreciate it. It helps us out too.
God bless.
Well,
Thank you.
Thank
So
you so
we're-
much.
Jackson, call me tomorrow.
Will do. Okay.
Thank you.
All right.
So this will be posted on www.mountoливebaptist.org. You can also view it from YouTube. Just search for Mount Olive Baptist in Hackensack, New Jersey, and that should get you there.